Austin, JJ used the word devastation to describe the way that you lost the last game. But what did it take to bounce back like this against a team that was desperate to try and get a victory?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows what we have in the locker room, from coaches to players. We knew coming in tonight we were tied for the 4th spot, I believe. And Brian said it before the game. We're going to play this as a must-win. They're a team that just fired their head coach, so we knew they was going to come out with a lot of energy, a lot of effort, to try to, I don't want to say turn things around. They're tied for 4th in the West, which is crazy. So, it's a really good team that's had success in the past year, so it's a good win.
Going back to that first-round series a couple years ago, maybe when you really earned the trust of your teammates, and certainly LeBron James, it had already been there to an extent, but what is that kind of fast forward to today and all the trust that all of your teammates and coaches have for you to come through in moments like this in crunch time?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot to me because, me, Brian, and Luka and JJ met this morning, and those are two. I mean, obviously Brian's someone that I grew up watching, and then when Luka came in the league, he was one of my favorite players to watch. And for them to trust me in big situations is it builds my confidence a lot. I probably know over 100 people in here tonight from Arkansas. So just to come out here and play free and have fun is a lot of fun for me.
All right, Arkansas, just a very short drive across the border. You mentioned that trust in the teammates. You had the counting stats, almost a 30-point triple-double, but Stu on the broadcast was talking about the fronting of Jaren Jackson, just kind of key plays like that, and just doing a little bit of everything to try and make sure the team gets a win.
Yeah, I mean, it's that time of the year where you gotta buckle up and do whatever you can do to help your team win, and that's what I try to do every single night. Some nights I probably lack a little bit of it, but I constantly try to remind myself and to go out there and play the game I love the right way.
All right, go say hi to the family. You mentioned you got a lot of people in the building. We'll let you go shake some hands, all right?
For sure. Good to see you.
Came in tied for 4th in the Western Conference. Did it feel bigger because of that?
I mean, I don't want to say it felt bigger because of, we're tied for 4th, but I think this was a big game for us in the sense of, how we lost the other night. We hadn't been playing great. We got a good win in Indiana, but, lost in Orlando. So to go 1-3 on this trip instead of 2-2 would have been, frustrating. So coming into this game, it was obviously high intensity. It's hard, last game on a road trip because you're pretty excited to go home. But, for that 3 hours or whatever the game is, you got to lock in and try to, put your best foot forward, win.
Austin, the only game since the All-Star break that you lost against a Western team is that game at Denver, which obviously went down to the wire. Is there anything to just how well you played against the West teams, and now down the stretch it's only West for the rest of the season?
I didn't even know that, to be honest. I had no idea. We gave ourselves a good opportunity to win that one in Denver too, shorthanded, but I didn't know that, so I don't really. I just feel like we've in spurts played really good basketball, and if we do that, we're going to be a tough team to beat.
Austin, even though they scored 127 points, maybe minus the first 3 minutes of the second half, it felt like you guys were pretty engaged in what you were trying to do defensively. What do you make of sort of the consistent attention tonight on that level, and do you feel like that paid off late?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, what did they tie? It was 113. That's a point in the game where you got to buckle in and be, you want to be locked in every possession. Obviously, you're not going to play a perfect game, but late game, you had to be, really locked into what you were trying to do, and I felt like we did that tonight. Obviously, giving up, like you said, 127 is not, what we want to, not how many points we want to give up. So, obviously we can do better, but when we needed it, we got stops.
JJ was talking about the meeting this morning, the creativity with you three and not necessarily doing the same things, even if you're running the same actions or whatnot. How did you feel like that manifested tonight in terms of just the two-man game, especially with you and Luka down the stretch?
I think it was good. I mean, Brown and Luka are so good that they make my life easy. unselfish players that like to play the game the right way. Unbelievable passers, both of them. So you try to just get the best outcome every single possession. If we do that, if we lock into doing that, I feel like we can get a good shot every possession. So just having that creativity in whatever we're running, and just trusting it and trusting with the pass is a big thing. And I felt like we did that well tonight.
Last question.
Quarter timeout where LeBron was particularly vocal about communication. He thought that it made a difference. He said maybe if he doesn't pipe up the way he does, you guys don't win the game. Do you recall that? And how did the message help you guys in that moment?
It's the first time I've heard him yell in a while.
Is this new or old?
That one is over.
It was refreshing, to be honest. I loved it. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it just shows how much he cares. His attention to detail is probably the standard. If all of us can lock into that, every single possession, you can create something special.
Thank you.
Rui, we spoke before the game on the for the Spectrum pregame show, and you were kind of on cue to how big the game was going to be, just with their intensity, what yours needed to be. How did you feel like that went once you got out there, and what do you think the difference was in the game?
Yeah, for sure. I think a couple of times we had a couple, 10 points lead, and they come back. And then we kind of get another 10 points lead, and they come back. It was like a back and forth. But, yeah, they never gave up. And, of course, I think our third quarter, that's the beginning. The third quarter was a little bit, we are kind of a little bit, didn't focus well. So we gave up easy, layup and the threes and stuff. But, yeah, I think overall, I think we did a great job, defensively. We got it well, and that's why we got this done.
They were pretty relentless attacking, and you knew that was going to happen with John, JJJ, and them trying to get a win. When you guys are also small, what are the challenges of, the rim protection, rebounding?
Yeah, for sure. We talk about everybody got to go rebound, no leak out and everything. So I think we did a pretty good job, I think. They got a couple offensive rebound, but we fought through, and we got this game, so that was good, yeah.
What did you think of the fact that LeBron, Luka, and Austin combined between points and assists for 120 of the 134 points that you guys had? Did you see them fitting together better in command?
Yeah, for sure. We of course beating around those three guys, and they fit in. We talk about after the game too, like Dodo, Gabe, me, myself. I think we can get all literally wide open shots every time. Because for other team, they gotta guard those three guys literally. So I think that was a great team win, and we gotta keep building the chemistry. We kind of had a little stretch of, we a lot of injury guys and in and out and schedule whatever. So, but we gotta get back to our whatever we left off, before the like a March or something. So yeah, we gotta just keep building our chemistry and go for prepare for the playoff.
Emotional response, or not that you had emotion, but just from a loss like that at the buzzer to have a day kind of recoup and come out against a team that clearly desperate for a win after firing their coach?
I feel like we were desperate for a win, so I didn't really give a damn about how they were. As far as the buzzer goes, we just won one the night before. Sometimes you lose them how you win them. You got to just charge that to the game. It's a lot of games in this season, so we just had to come out with the right mentality. We knew we needed a win. We tried to close out this road trip the right way. Plan for something bigger. We just try to get ourselves back on track.
You got hot early. Just wondering, was there anything consistent about how you were getting those looks, like who was finding you and what spots you were trying to find?
No, I think I was just being aggressive early. I think I got to the rim early. That always helps. And, we were moving the ball well in that first half, and it found me. And I was, being a shot aggressive, and I made some shots. It was helpful.
Gabe, you mentioned kind of your team's desperation. It felt like maybe for the first time since you had all your guys back, you were able to put together kind of that 48 minutes of consistent sort of focus and intent. What did you kind of make of that tonight in terms of like a big game and being able to perform pretty consistently through all four quarters?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was perfect by any means, but we showed a good level of grit, especially down the stretch. Our third quarters historically haven't been the best, and this game it wasn't great either, but we found a way to rally within it and salvage it, and then we closed it in the fourth.
You
it's obviously when you have three really dynamic on the ball players like you guys do in Austin, Luka, and LeBron, like there's going to be kinks to work out in terms of how that's going to go. But what did you make of kind of the way those three were able to play with and off of one another tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've done a really good job, figuring it out. Obviously, it's a little more of a sample size now, but it's quick coming from the trade deadline, and three guys that can dominate the ball and score at a very high level and play make at a very high level. They've done a really good job of playing off one another as well. Whether one of them are screeners or one of the one spacing, two's on the floor, all three on the floor. They've done a really good job of keeping winning the most important thing and finding ways to be effective.
Gabe, you guys have this was a big game in terms of the standings. Are you guys keeping an eye on that, or is the focus mostly on just hitting your peak level of play as we get closer to the playoffs?
I mean, maybe at the beginning of the trip we had our eye on it, but we got to stay focused one game at a time right now.
Thanks, Gabe.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, but you knew Memphis was really going to play with, this the extra playoff level of intensity. They battled back a couple times. What did you think was the thing that finally kind of held them off in that fourth quarter when you guys were able to get the victory?
I thought our poise when we got down 4. I thought our poise when it was tied at 113. Our execution. I said to the guys in the timeout, we were getting great shots. Like our execution in that fourth quarter, I think Rui or Doe had a couple. We got great looks. We punished their overhelps, and they didn't go in. And they were tough to guard tonight. They outperformed some things that we're willing to live with. They were 20 for 38 on non-rim twos, which 38 non-rim twos. That's a pretty good sort of math equation to have. They made some tough shots. And then for us to just continue to trust what we were doing offensively, we had one bad possession in the fourth quarter outside of like a couple turnovers. Just like from an execution standpoint, we got exactly what we were trying to get.
In the walk-off, Austin said that you met with you and Luka and LeBron this morning, and just kind of how much he appreciates the players that they are, and then being included in that. What did you think of his play on both ends of the court tonight? You kind of roped into that meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, first of all, in terms of his play, he got us off. He helped get us off to a great start. We challenged him a little bit on playing with a little more force and pace off the ball, and I thought that was great early, and we were able to generate some good stuff. And then we challenged all three of them when we get to their three-man actions to play with a little more force and a little more thrust and a little more creativity. We were able to get some great stuff in the fourth quarter off that and create the sort of advantages that we envision creating when we put those three guys together. And it's I told them this morning, it's hard to create advantages against switches. And generally they're going to have three defenders that can all switch. But there was a defender that we felt like didn't necessarily want to switch, and when we put those three guys in action in that fourth quarter, it was awesome. And just in terms of Austin being included, of course he's been included. I mean, I think the biggest thing about our group is the response to the other night when we lose on a half-court buzzer beater. And I said before the game that we'll be ready to play, that our resolve, I'm not surprised at how hard we played and how well we played tonight. I made sure the group knew that I believed still, and that the coaching staff believed, and they were resolute in their belief in this team. All three of those guys, and then everybody else.
JJ, excuse me, there weren't a lot of stops necessarily over stretches, but it never really felt like you guys weren't in it defensively, if that makes sense. And especially in the fourth, I think there was a stretch where Dorian got a rebound over Edey, had a challenge on Jaren Jackson, Luka took the lane away from Desmond Bane. What did you think about kind of, you guys have been a team that's guarded despite results for a lot of the year, but that's kind of faded a little bit. What did you think about your team's intent defensively?
Yeah, I think process-wise, it was really good. Where we, I don't know what they ended up with, 22. I mean, where we struggled a little bit was in transition. 22 is not a crazy number, but I thought our half-court defense and our half-court defensive execution was really good. We gave up, I think, one back cut out of the corner out of their wheel concept. We gave up 1-3 to Ja Morant out of the wheel concept in the first half from the left corner in front of their bench. I'm not sure we gave up much else just in terms of letting the ball get middle. We did a good job of keeping the ball out of the middle, and then they made a few shots where we didn't allow to get middle, and they kind of were at that free throw line area and made some shots. I thought, Jackson Jr. hit some tough ones. In terms of our execution, you can execute a defensive game plan, and teams can still make shots. I liked what we did defensively with our half-court defense.
JJ, I know you just mentioned the fourth quarter execution, but offensively tonight, 50-40, 90 performance. The big three all go for 25 plus, 8 plus assists, several role players in double figures. Did it feel like this is like maybe the closest you guys have been to your offensive ceiling as a group since these three have been playing together?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's always stuff you can improve on, and you don't want to say like, that's the best we can play offensively. We played as well as we played so far offensively. And, a big part of that, I thought, was not just those three guys, but Doe, Rui, Gabe, their shot making, particularly at times when we played a 5-laser lineup. And just, Doe missed a couple, told him to keep shooting, and he made a couple. And I thought that was great. Rui had the big one in the corner over there opposite their bench. And then Vando, because of their overhelps, like he was able to operate a little bit in that first half, which was great offensively. Like I think it was a good game for us because we didn't just see one thing either. They played a small lineup with switching. They played Edie in a heavy drop. They did a bunch of different. They played Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5. Like they did a bunch of stuff, and we were able to channel change when they channel changed.
Following up on the meeting you had with your three leaders, when you mentioned asking them to play with more creativity, like how does that manifest itself? What do you want them to do?
Just, without getting too into the X's and O's, if we put you in an environment, don't do the same thing every time. If we put you in an environment, make everything live, exhaust every option. Like allow us to call a set where all three of you are involved and then just exhaust every option so we can keep going back to it. That's what I meant.
And you told us you didn't have any doubt that your team would be ready to play tonight, but was an early indicator the way that LeBron was going at Edie on both ends? Did that do anything for the group?
I just told him he was an incredible leader tonight, and it was early. It was throughout the game. When we got down, I challenged the group in a timeout, and he was as vocal as he's been since he got back from injury, and that galvanized the group. It was about communication and what he said. I think if he doesn't say what he said in the timeout, we probably don't win the game.
You mentioned before the game maybe expecting more pick and roll from them with the coaching change. Did you expect any, or did you see anything during the game that was different than what they'd been doing?
No, they ran a little bit of off-ball stuff. We obviously had that stuff in our scout, but they ran a little bit more than I can remember in watching them play. I could be wrong on that. I don't have the exact possessions breakdown of actions, but they particularly with Pippen, the way they just get the ball out and he gets them into sort of early offense, that drive and kick game of theirs, that was very similar. They ran a lot of the Iverson stuff, their loop play. But yeah, it was probably the off-ball stuff was the only thing that was a little bit, and that, primarily Luke and Bane were in that with Jaren.